In this video, I'm going to tell you what Ferrari Cavalcade is and how my family, through blind luck, happened to stumble across the second annual 2013 version of Ferrari Cavalcade in Florence, Italy, and tell you about all of the fantastic and rare Ferrari automobiles that we got a chance to see. So stick around. In 2013, my family took its first ever trip to Europe. We had a party of 12 that included my wife, my parents, my aunt, a number of my cousins, even a college friend of mine joined along. We did an 11-day guided tour from Rome to Florence to Venice. So on day 4, when we arrive in Florence, I want to say it's late afternoon, we check into the hotel. The next morning, my cousin Mike goes out for his morning run. And he comes back from his run and finds my wife and I sitting at breakfast, and he says, "Hey, Tom, I saw a couple of Ferraris down at this piazza not far from the hotel. You ought to go check it out and find out whether they're available for rent. Maybe you can take one for a drive." I said, "Okay, well, I find it highly unlikely that it's available for rent, but just the same, we'll go check it out." And so after breakfast, my wife and I took a wander down along the edge of the Arno River that runs through the heart of Florence. And sure enough, a few blocks away from our hotel, we come across the Piazza di Ognissanti. My apologies if I pronounced it wrong. And there along the street is a red 458 Italia with right-hand drive, gorgeous car. And in the piazza, I notice a Ferrari F40. And now I know something's up, because an F40 is not the kind of Ferrari that you would normally see driving around, even in a place like Florence. Then I notice there's a Ferrari flag flying from the hotel, and there's banners up that say Ferrari Cavalcade, second annual 2013, and there's what turned out to be Ferrari employees in their red shirts. And so I went up to one of them and I said, "So what's this all about?" And he says, "Oh, well, this is Ferrari Cavalcade. This is an exclusive event where we invite 80 of our most highly respected Ferrari collectors, and we invite them to ship their cars to Italy and spend 3 days with us as they drive through the mountains, they have lunch at local vineyards, and they stay at a 5-star hotel." And I said, "Wow, that's fantastic." And he says, "Come back at 5 o'clock. That's when they'll all be coming back around dinner time." Okay, so my wife and my father and I came back and sat along the wall along the Arno River and watched as the most beautiful parade of Ferraris came waltzing back into the piazza. Now, one of the things we noticed about the cars was they all had stickers on them. They had numbers on the doors, but they also had stickers identifying what countries they were from. And so as we got to see all of these cars, we noticed there were cars from all over the world. We did spot 3 from the United States. One was from Pennsylvania, and the other 2 were from locations that I really didn't expect. One was from Puerto Rico, and the other was from Alaska. Along with those US cars, we spotted cars from the UK, Germany, France, Monaco, Qatar, Lebanon, Switzerland, Israel, Dubai, Thailand, Hungary, New Zealand, Hong Kong, and of course, Italy. Over the course of the next hour and a half, we would watch nearly 80 Ferraris pull into that piazza. Here you can see this black car up front is an F12 Berlinetta. It's going to be followed by a pair of 458 Spiders, but I want you to pay special attention to the 4th car in this group. This will be a very rare automobile called the Ferrari 348 GT Competizione. It was a special homologation for a GT racing series. They were only built from 1993 through 1995, and they ran in places like Sebring, Daytona, and Le Mans, and they only built 50 of them. This is a 2005 Ferrari SuperAmerica. It was a convertible version of the 575 Maranello with a front-engine V12 making 533 horsepower. It was marketed as the world's fastest convertible, capable of 199 miles per hour. Ferrari built only 559 of them, and I'm guessing this driver was not having a very good day, because as you can see from the pictures, he had clearly struck something along the passenger door of this vehicle. This red F12 Berlinetta pulling up now is driven by a man named Josh Cartu. Now I know that because he's got his Facebook link plastered all over his automobile. It's an interesting character. He's a tech entrepreneur, he's a Ferrari race car driver, he's from Canada, lives in Israel, collects Ferraris, he's considered a social media influencer. But in September 2020, an article came out saying that he and his two brothers had been charged in a $165 million call center stock trading scam by U.S. and Canadian authorities. If you want to read about him, I'll put a link in the description below. This next vehicle is a Ferrari Ff, the four-seater, first four-wheel drive car offered by Ferrari. The design is referred to as a shooting brake. It has a 650 horsepower V12 that'll do 208 miles an hour. The yellow car is the predecessor, the 612 Scaglietti. It has the same V12 as the SuperAmerica. The maroon car here in front is a Ferrari California, but the vehicle behind it is another rare automobile, the SA Aperta. The SA are the initials of Sergio and Andrea Pininfarina. This is a roadster version of the 599 GTO, and Ferrari only built 80 of these cars to honor the 80th anniversary of the designer Pininfarina. This is an F430. That model was produced from 2004 until 2009. It's followed by a black F430 Spider. But we also saw during this event the F430 Scuderia. Scuderia in Italian stands for stable, but the Scuderia name is also used by Ferrari to describe its racing programs. It was introduced by Ferrari in 2007 in order to compete against the likes of the Porsche 911 GT3 RS and the Lamborghini Gallardo Superleggera. Now we get to the true supercars at the event. This is an F40. The F40 was introduced in July of 1987 and has the distinction of being the final Ferrari that Enzo Ferrari had a hand in creating, as he passed away in August of 1988 at the age of 90. It was a sharp contrast from its direct competition, the Porsche 959. Where the Porsche was full of new technology, the F40 was just the opposite. For example, you had to manually crank the windows. They had planned to produce 400 of them. It was the most expensive car Ferrari had sold at the time, with a sticker price of $400,000. Ferrari had a hit on its hands, and they ended up producing 1,311 of them. Even today, they fetch between $1.2 and $1.5 million apiece. Now, as you can see from this picture, there were two F40s, but they are not the same. That is because the other one from the UK was a 1990 Ferrari F40 LM. The LM stands for Le Mans. The F40 had been so popular that customers requested that Ferrari make a factory race spec version of the F40 that they could take to the track. That would become the F40 LM, the car that was more powerful, weighed less, and had better aerodynamics than the street-going F40. Ferrari would only produce 19 of these cars. The most recent sale I could find at auction was in Paris in February of 2019, and it sold for $5.8 million. And then there were the Enzos. The Ferrari Enzo, named after the founder, was produced from 2003 to 2004. Only 399 units were planned to be produced, but the factory built one more for Pope John Paul II. That car was auctioned off in 2005 for $1.1 million, and the proceeds were donated to the Vatican for humanitarian relief. The same vehicle was then auctioned again 10 years later in 2015, when it fetched an astounding $6 million. The Enzo was revolutionary in its design. It has carbon fiber body, F1-style transmission, traction control, and active aerodynamics. It's powered by a 6-liter naturally aspirated V12 that makes 651 horsepower and revs up to 8,200 RPMs. Some have called this Ferrari's first hypercar. When it was introduced, with a price tag of $650,000 each, they were sold out immediately. Today on the open market, they fetch somewhere in the neighborhood of $2.5 to $3 million. And there were 5 of them participating in the event. including this rare black Enzo. The rumor is that Ferrari only produced somewhere between 4 and 8 black Enzos, and here was one of them in Florence with us. Once everyone had returned to the piazza, the staff then set about cleaning every car for the next day's rally. We stopped by early next morning to see all of them shined up and ready to go. It truly was an amazing sight. I counted a total of 87 Ferraris that filled the piazza, and I dreamed of what it must be like to participate in an event like this one. And that is my story of how my family stumbled across Ferrari Cavalcade in June of 2013 in Florence, Italy, what will likely be the most exclusive and largest collection of Ferraris I will ever see in my lifetime. My name is Tom Stroup, and you've been watching Find the Right Road. If you enjoyed that video, please click the like button and consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks, and we'll catch you next time.